In this video, I'm going to show you how I make a reversible hexagon, and I'm calling this the Teardrop Hexagon because the points, or the corners, contain 2 chains, and the configuration makes them look like teardrops. This little sample has 1, 2, 3 rounds, and you're looking at the front of it. I worked the second round on the back side, and then I flipped it again and worked the third round on the front side again. And here's what it looks like on the back. And the reason I want a reversible hexagon is so that it will coordinate with the half hexagon that matches up with it, because on a half hexagon you have to work it going 2 different directions, 1 different direction for each pass. And there is a ridge on the back of every round, but when you turn it over, the ridges are on different rounds. For this little sample, I'm using cotton yarn. Cotton yarn shows up better in a video. And the one I'm using is from Hobby Lobby. It's called I Love This Cotton. It's a medium size yarn, number 4 weight. And I am using the color Bright Citrus, and I'm using a 5mm crochet hook. So I start by leaving about 8 inches of a tail, put a slip knot on my hook, chain 4, join with a slip stitch in the first chain, and there we have our foundation circle. Now this is different than what you might be used to. I start each round with an unusual stitch that I made up myself. What I do is I insert into the ring, yarn under, pull up a loop, yarn over, and pull through both, which is a single crochet. Then I do 2 chains, and that configuration is my first double crochet. So it's a single crochet into the ring and then 2 chains. Now for the first segment, I will work another double crochet and then 2 chains for the point. For the next segment, 2 double crochet stitches, and 2 chains for the point. And repeat that around until you have 6 sets of 2 double crochet stitches, and don't make the last 2 chains because we're going to join, and I'll show you how to do that. Okay, now I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 sets of 2 double crochet each, and I've got 2 chains in each point except the last one, and the last point I will form by using a half double crochet in the second chain of the beginning double crochet. A half double crochet is often substituted at the beginning of rows by using a chain 2. So we're doing just the opposite. We're substituting a chain 2 with a half double crochet. And the advantage of doing it this way is that the working yarn is now right in the middle of the joining space. as opposed to off to one side. So now I'm going to turn the piece, I'm going to flip it over clockwise, but before I do that, I remove the hook from the loop and I reinsert it from the other direction. And then I turn it clockwise. Now the working yarn is to the back, and I'm going to work a single crochet into that same joining space. And then chain 2, and that is our beginning double crochet. And the reason I do it that way instead of just chaining up is that the lower part of the stitch is actually worked into the space as opposed to just coming up off the top of it, which makes it look more like the other stitches that surround it. So the next step is to do a double crochet in each of the next 2 double crochets. And I want to point out why I am using a yarn under on one of the steps of my double crochet stitches. The standard method to make a double crochet is to yarn over, insert hook, yarn over again, and pull up a loop, then yarn over and pull through 2 loops twice. The problem with that, and it works just fine most of the time, but there can be a problem depending on what kind of yarn you're using, and cotton is one of them that's a little bit fussy this way. It can split more easily, and the reason it splits is because for right-handed crocheters anyway, the motion that we make when we do yarn overs all the time is that we tend to unknowingly untwist the yarn, which makes it easier to split it. So to overcome that, I will do a yarn under just on the motion after I insert and then grab the yarn. I use a yarn under for that one, but I use a yarn over for the remaining steps of a double crochet. Okay, so we're at the point, so I chain 2, make another double crochet, another 2 double crochets, 1 in each of the next 2 stitches, and continue on with that configuration. What we have on each segment is 1, 2, 3, 4 double crochets separated by a chain 2 point. So work that all the way around except for the last 2 chains. Okay, I've worked 6 segments of 4 double crochet each, except the last one, and I want to show you how I'm going to finish this last segment. So I have the double crochet that's in the point, the double crochet that's in the one below it, and the place where we insert the next double crochet is a little bit different because it's not quite the same. I'm inserting it into that same chain that I used to join the joining stitch of the previous round, which is the second chain of the beginning double crochet. Okay, so we have 1 more double crochet, and we put that in the same point, the beginning point. So this is the beginning stitch, which was a single crochet and 2 chains. Now we're ready to join, and normally we would put 2 chains here, but because we're not doing that, we're going to use a half double crochet, and I'm putting it into the second chain of that beginning double crochet stitch. So there we've made our teardrop, and our working yarn is in the middle of the teardrop instead of off to one side, which is exactly what we want. And this first stitch looks very similar to the stitch next to it. So that's why I do this instead of just chaining 3. So once again, we will turn the work. by removing the hook, reinserting it from the other direction, turn the work clockwise, make sure the working yarn is at the back, work a single crochet in that same joining space, and then to finish the beginning double crochet, I just chain 2. And then work a double crochet in each of the double crochets below, work double crochet, chain 2, double crochet in the teardrops, and I'll meet you back at the other end, at the other side, to show you how I finish off with the join. Okay, I have now completed 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 segments of 6 double crochet each. I'm on my last segment. I've got 4 double crochets worked, so I need to do the last one that goes into a stitch and then one more that goes into the space. So just like on the previous round, we are working that last double crochet into that little hole there. And then a double crochet in the teardrop. And here's how I join my final round, and you can make many more rounds working in the same manner that you did the first 2. But for the last round, what I do is chain 1, so that's partial point. Then I cut the yarn to a length of about 8 inches and pull it out of the stitch. Don't cinch that down too tightly, leave it nice and loose. Then I thread the end of the yarn into a yarn needle, and I work the needle under the front and the back strands of that chain. Then I pull it to close it, and then insert front to back into the chain from which the yarn is coming, and I adjust the width of that V so that it is not too tight, so that it matches approximately the size of the other V's that surround it. Then on the back, I bring the yarn, the needle, top to bottom under that strand right there, so that the chain that joins is actually a chain. Chains have 3 strands. They've got a V above and a bar on the back. And then I go over one more stitch, top to bottom under that strand. Then I can work under the bottoms of the double crochet stitches to weave in my yarn. And then come back the other direction. And I'm satisfied with going just 2 directions. When I weave in my ends, some people like to go 3 directions. Feel free to do that if that makes you feel better. Then I weave in this end. By going under or within the bottoms of all these initial double crochet stitches. You can weave in your ends however you see fit. This is just how I do it. and then I go back in the other direction for a few stitches. Trim off the end, and there I have it. I am done. Now let's see if we can find that joining. I think this is the corner where the joins are. It's hard to tell. I'm pretty sure that's it though. I don't know. Tried to make it look as invisible as possible. Wait, maybe that's it. Yeah, that's it. That one is it right there at the top. Thank you so much for watching. I appreciate you spending time watching me crochet. This segment of the video will just demonstrate to you why I like to go back and forth when I make a hexagon sometimes. Now this is a hexagon where I've gone around the same direction every single round, and it looks beautiful. I love this. I think it's just delightful to look at. However, if I want to make a half hexagon that would fill in the edges of a blanket, then I have to make the half hexagon by turning at the end of each row, which gives me a different pattern than going the same direction every round on the hexagon. So if I want them to match completely, then I need to work this full hexagon in the same pattern back and forth, and turn on each round. And I turn in the corners so that the joins are not as obvious. So this shows you what I was talking about. There's a ridge on every other row on this half hexagon where I have gone different directions. I've flipped it and turned it and worked the other side. So this one is a hexagon that I turned each round on the full hexagon, and you can see that it's got the same ridges every other round, just like the half hexagon does. So that's why I even developed this pattern in the first place, so that the half hexagons would match the appearance of the full hexagons. Thank you so much for watching.